Hello and welcome to this video about pedagogy for transformation and evolution. My name is Harriet Fagerholm. I'm from Helsinki, Finland. And I used to work for 13 years as a professional educator in vocational education. And now I'm a coach, co-creative guide and healer.
Hello, everybody. My name is Victoria Subirana. I am from Spain and I'm a teacher. I have been working for about 30 years in the creation and exploration and development of a methodology called Pedagogy for Transformation, very successfully implemented in many places.
Yes, and during the years as a guide and coach, I have developed also my own methodology InTune to support the inner transformation. So we are sharing in these videos our understanding and teachings of how we can really work on ourselves. I mostly from an adult perspective and Victoria from how she has been working with the children and the youth. And this video is about the relationship between the emotions and the development of the mind.
Yes, and I would have to start with the statement that people like Harriet and I, we have been feeling very lonely in our journey, working the emotions, working on the acknowledgement of the mind, working on the development of this mind, working on the acknowledgement of the self, what is self, what thoughts, mind, and words have to do with the achievement of life purposes. And she shared with me the loneliness, the adversity of having to state for concepts that were not trained, that they were not well accepted when we first started 28, 30 years ago. And in her many years of experience, we were like, oh my God, how do I continue with this work and still I have an acceptance into the society, because those kind of words, topics, ideas were not understood and were not a fashion. But in due course of time, what we both acknowledge is that more and more often, some words like mindfulness, emotional intelligence, yoga, all these kind of practices have been part of the trend, part of the culture around all over the world, here in Finland and in many other places. But then again, from our perspective, we would like here to clarify a little bit the concepts, because sometimes we feel there is a misunderstanding and they put everything into the pattern of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a part of mind development, the development of the mind and the acknowledgement of what is mind and how mind works has a part, let's say a 10%, in which emotions play a big role. But it's not all about what Harriet and I, we have been discovering, researching, and talking and working. So I would like to clarify a little bit from my humble point of view and from the knowledge received from my teachers and also my experience, that emotions are very important. But why are they important? According to my information, the information I received from Praja and Suporn, the Buddhist perception categorizes the emotions depicted, represented by 3 different animals. So there is the pig that represents ignorance. Therefore, those kind of actions that are negative, that are aligned with the negative energy, but those actions that we are not aware of due to the ignorance, pig represents the ignorance. Due to the ignorance, sometimes we commit mistakes. Sometimes we do things that we were not supposed to do. And when we come across the truth, oh my God, I really regret to have done that. I never meant to hurt you. Oh my God. It happened to me many times that I've said something that I was not supposed to say. And then when I'm back in my room, I am thinking, oh, oh, I told that, I told this, I was not supposed, because it's very difficult to control the emotions, you know, the mouth, the eyes, all this is playing a role against our willpower to, you know, react immediately and act accordingly to what we want to do. Sometimes, you know, the instinct plays a very negative role over the control of our emotions, and we do things that we don't want to do. All those actions that we have a remorse, we repent, you know, we would have to be, you know, born again to repair them, fall into the category of this, you know, the peak representing the ignorance. Okay, and if we are in this earth, one of our life purpose is to demolish ignorance so we can attempt happiness, because without knowledge, without the demolition of ignorance, there is no happiness possible, because ignorance creates again suffering. Then we move to another category of emotions depicted from the cock, you know, greed, attachment, jealousy, all envy, all these things, that all these emotions, negative emotions that are originated when we are not satisfied with what we have. Instead, we want to become a different person. We envy the status of another person. We envy the material possessions of other persons. We envy the physical body of other persons. We are jealous of the achievement of other people, and so forth. Then we would like to be as joyful as my brother. I would like to be as straightforward as my father is. So all these emotions that fall into this category, but will cross a limit that because of that emotions, we attempt doing things against others that will create immense suffering. So because I am jealous of my sister, now I'm going to do this. Because I'm jealous of my colleague, I am going to talk to my boss against that lady, so she will be kicked out of jealousy. Because I'm jealous of that politician who is my opponent. Rather than being focused on my election program and talk about my election program, I will demolish the personality of my opponent. This is jealousy. This is in the air. This is leadership that is causing tremendous problem and suffering due to the misunderstanding of the emotions and due to the lack of education in the schools. Because with all this, what is more important is that I have been able to come up with different materials, because for the children it's very easy to identify the emotions with an animal, depicting animals, then talking from a very intellectual level. So these kind of materials have been serving me to talk and to materialize and identify the negative emotions with the children. Moreover, the Buddhist sector have identified other kind of emotions with a snake, the viper, the snake, the ones that is really poisoning a snake, that is hatred. Hatred, malicious thinking, negative thinking, and causing harm to others when it comes from that remorse, from that negative anger, that causes immense suffering and problems for the people who are the victims of those who cannot control the anger, cannot control the negative passions, and will take actions against them. You say that we think that that might be very difficult to be materialized, but it's been depicted in the films. The children come to the school having been exposed to all this violence in, you know, around them. Gongs are part of even the culture of gambling, you know, I mean, games, I mean, the gongs, you know, the films that depicted, you know, and portrayed, you know, assassins and and criminals using bombs and thinking how I am going to rob a bank, how I am going to do, drugs smuggling, how I am planning to do bad things for others. All these kind of negative emotions that fall in the category of planning, even taking off the life of some people, or doing something terrible to avoid the success of others, falls into the category of the snake. And then we have different games in the school where the children can identify them and can describe, is that action related to ignorance? Is that a pig? That person, when someone has done something wrong, or that comes from the pig perspective? Is that a cock, or it's the snake? So the children have orientations. Moreover, what I do when the children can read in the secondary school, we can introduce this through newspapers. We bring newspapers in the classroom and we categorize them into 3 different groups. One group has to come up with the news related to ignorance, a problem that has been originated by the lack of wisdom by ignorance. Another group will have to come out with a problem that is being published in the newspaper due to the attachment to greed, or all the emotions originated by greed. Similarly, come up identifying the problems that are demolishing the societies because they come from hate and anger and so forth. Then this is a very beautiful way of letting the children work, represent the different emotions and all that. But finally, before I give the word to Harriet, I would like to say why it's important that we work with our emotions once we are alive. Because when we die, the dying process of leaving the body has a very important link, a very concrete link with the status of our emotions. If we have been carrying problems and negative emotions due to our ignorance, at the moment of death, that ignorance has to be unfolded. But if we have a lot of debts, a lot of problems, a lot of enemies created by the greed, because we are greedy, it will be very difficult to let go. And if you analyze a person who is dying, you will get there the information about which kind of attachment, which kind of jealousy, which kind of envy she or he is carrying, and he or she is not able to let go at the moment of death, and that causes a significant, tremendous amount of suffering and pain, both physically and also psychologically, emotionally, because we are attached to our emotions also when we die. And if we don't let go of the negative emotions, the body also doesn't go, the fluid doesn't go, the pain doesn't go, the intellectual property doesn't go. Similarly, when you have committed a lot of mistakes and related to hatred, then during your lifetime, at the moment of death, you will see how this plays a very, very terrifying role in letting go, because you don't have the time to come across with the right people. They might not be there at the right moment for you to say sorry. You might not have the time to repair the things you have done. And so that is so important. That is the importance of working with our emotions and coming across to a system that accepts repairing and mending things, the amendments that have to be done before our life cycle expires. And so we integrate all as a learning process. We give thanks for having listened to our negative emotions. We ask for forgiveness. We feel gratitude for having been able to feel the fear, to feel the hate, to feel the hatred, to feel the jealousy. Feeling it's not a pattern. We can feel the negative emotions, so we can work on them. We can repair. We have the time to repair them before we die, and we die peacefully. We die peacefully only if we work on daily basis on all these subjects. So no longer the schools of the today, the schools of the present time, no longer the schools of the future can neglect the introduction of these subjects into the learning curriculum. And now I would like to speak from the adult perspective. Those children who never learn about these patterns to set up the mind into a very positive direction will go to Harriet, and other healers and other specialists like her, because this kind of neglection goes to them. A lot of contradictions, so they cannot even cope with the families, they cannot even cope with the society around, they have to quit jobs, they are having constant aggressions, with the community they live in, and they have to go to a specialist like Harriet. And I would like her to share her immense experience in this topic. What do you think about that, and how do you solve the negative emotional ecosystem of a person, an adult, that is being deprived from the practices I just mentioned? Harriet?
First of all, we need to acknowledge that this is on a collective cultural level, because we are now coming into the understanding that we need to invite the real feelings. We need to open up to feeling these emotions, what you're talking about. And our culture has been so focused on the intellectual development, the rational mind. So like me and many others with me now, we are getting in contact with our real emotions, because we have learned as children to cut off the feeling. It's like you're cutting here. You don't have even a connection to your body where you feel the emotions. The emotions are bodily sensations. And we can numb ourselves, and all the addictions and drugs we talked about, it's a way of numbing ourselves, because we are not in contact with these feelings that makes us also feel alive. And to be able as an adult to receive this knowledge now, what you are sharing, about really feeling those most difficult negative emotions, this will take time. I used to have a practical model for describing this dynamics, how you are opening up to feel the fear, to feel the anger, to feel the guilt, and the worst emotion of them all, the shame. When I have even shown this paper to people, some of them are not even able to look at it. They cannot, take in that those emotions are there and they are in me. And I used to be the same. I was living in denial of the feelings, because the culture was like we all. And I understand now, after years of healing myself and supporting other people, that it is in the collective, because if there's a collective denial because of big collective trauma, for example, in Europe and worldwide, we have the collective trauma of the world wars. We are now opening up to start healing them. And the trauma of how we have been treated as children with violence. This is not a long time ago. We have discussed this in your home country, Spain, in my home country, Finland. Violence towards small children was not prohibited until the 80s. It's very recent. I'm born in the 60s. So violence towards small children was a part of the culture. That all causes deep trauma, and we are getting we are freezing into that trauma reaction. So we have to open up slowly to feel these difficult negative emotions and admit, for example, your own greed. It's not easy as an adult to look how in my ways am I greedy. But on the other hand, I feel that, and I have learned that love is behind everything. So even behind these negative emotions, we are unconsciously reaching out for love and healing, because that is how life wants us. Life supports the healing. But there is now to feel the pain you are talking about while we are living, and not the time when we are passing over to the other side, because that has been a big teaching I had no idea about, that emotional pain will be felt even more strongly on the other side. So dying away from it is not a solution. Escaping it. I try to gently, with a lot of care, guide the people who choose to come to me to work with these difficult emotions, to allow themselves to grieve, to feel that sadness, grief, all those, the jealousy. In what way am I really jealous? How am I attracting people around me who express that jealousy, for example? And the greed, what do I feel that people are coming to take from me, or can I give freely? How is my exchange of giving and receiving? Because when we are not, in this ignorant state, there's a lot of kind of unconscious processes going on, because people are looking for that solution from you. Maybe if you have worked a lot with you, then with yourself, they might try unconsciously to get what you have. So this is a very complex topic, and it's related to the mind and how we are operating in relation to our, fellow human beings in our families. Can we deal with this emotion? And as an adult, it takes really time and effort, and we need love, we need support, and we need therapists, healers, coaches, guides, whatever they are calling, whatever, from what perspective they are working. They need to have the real love for the pain that the other person is still carrying, not being able to release yet. But when that pain starts to be released and you can work with it, again, I come back to the artistic ways. Draw your pain, write about your pain, so that you become the one in charge of dealing with your pain, so you don't have to project it on other people. Like I used to project a lot of my anger on other people and other things, but I didn't understand why I was so angry. But if you have an abused inner child who has had to face a lot of injustice, then there is also anger, and that anger is verified. You need to also verify the injustice you have been facing. But transforming that energy into love and compassion, that's the real work, and we need the right guides to do that. And sometimes you need to wait for finding them, and you should be very sensitive to listening in who can really help you in this deep work of healing. But it's very worthwhile, because you will have more freedom and joy while you are still living, and that's the purpose. The happiness comes out of healing. That is my experience, and that is why we are doing these videos, also to invite you into this healing work, so that you can enjoy fully the life you are meant to live. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.